What's going on, everybody? First off, I hope you're having a great day. Got up pretty early today to get some stuff done at work, but now it's time to go ahead and go to the gym and train. So we are going to start by getting our pre-workout ready to go. Need to find my glasses. Today is predominantly a leg day, so we will definitely be training legs. It's kind of been an off week, I've had some crazy stuff going on at work, and so my schedule's been all over the place. So we're going to focus more on accessory work as opposed to heavy squatting like I did last week. And then we're also going to hit a couple random accessory movements. So I didn't get a really good bicep workout in, so we're going to hit some biceps, and then we're going to work on maybe a little bit of traps or rear delts. So kind of a random split, but again, I want to tailor to the things that I need to bring up the most for this competition. Oddly enough, I kind of want to play with overhead squat. That doesn't really seem like a practical exercise at all, but I also want to have fun during this workout. So we'll get some footage with that, and hopefully get a chance to do some commentary as well. So I will see you guys at the gym. What's up, guys? Back with another commentary for today's workout. For my first exercise for the day, I actually worked with a different movement than you would see in typical leg routines. I worked with some heavy squat cleans. I actually really like to do these mainly for, the sake of building, power in my legs and my upper back and whatnot, and it's a great carryover to front squatting. So this particular set, we're using 185. It's in my comfort zone in terms of being able to move it comfortably, move it with speed. I don't want to injure myself, of course, since it's only the first movement, but I really want to work out of my comfort zone and try to build my skill set, becoming a more well-rounded athlete. For the next set, we're going to go ahead and actually work on some visual cues, things that I'm trying to think about while doing the movement. This particular set is with 205. This is the third of my 5 total sets that I did. When I'm setting up for it, I'm going to focus on keeping my heels back and pulling the bar off the ground as quickly as possible. When doing that, I'm then going to explode from the hip, which is going to propel the bar upward, dropping quickly to then catch it in that front rack position and then finish to the top. As I mentioned before, this is a great carryover to your front squat, helps build core strength, build overall quad strength, and it's just something nice to mix it up. Every now and then you got to try something different. So it's nice to have a couple different things in your back pocket just in case. After this, we did move into another unorthodox movement, which, as I stressed before, was the overhead squat. Something I don't do very often, but a couple things that I'm thinking about while doing this movement are keeping my elbows locked out to stabilize the bar, and as the bar is overhead, I'm picturing driving my shoulders upward into the bar and shrugging them up just to maintain stability as I drop into the hole, essentially. With this particular exercise, make sure that when you are descending that you're controlling the movement, really trying to keep it balanced. You don't want the bar swinging forward. You want to try and be as vertical as possible as well in order to do this more successfully. I only did sets of 5. It's not really something I'm really great at, so of course I want to be careful. After that, we moved to a leg press, 3 different variations in terms of foot placement. We have a neutral position right here, and then we did move into a wider stance. And again, with this particular exercise, with both the neutral and the wide stance, I'm driving through the heels, really trying to target the hamstrings. As the foot placement gets wider, it tends to accent a more inner thigh or more, inner quads, inner hamstrings for that, which is great to add balance. And then the final part, we actually put our feet together but pointed the toes outward, and when doing that, I'm actually stressing the weight on my toes. So as I'm pressing the weight outward, I'm applying more of a press with my toe to bring the quads into play. This is really great for developing the outer sweep of the quad and just well-balanced legs overall. So it's just nice to get a high volume set after a low rep set in terms of getting the most bang for your buck. I did film 1 set of weighted overhead squats as well. Again, not putting a ton of weight in the bar because this isn't something that I'm super familiar with and really the most efficient at, but I always like to push myself a little bit. So as you can see, when I put the bar overhead, it is a little bit different having that extra weight, and so it's really, really important to make sure you're locking out those elbows and you are shrugging those shoulders upward to maintain a really stable upper body as you do drop into the squat. The one thing I will add as well, when you're doing these, if there's no mirror in front of you, it's really difficult to tell how low you're getting, mostly because my focus is entirely on making sure I don't drop that bar. So I was actually really impressed that I was able to get as low as I did. I only worked in the, the 5 rep range again with this particular movement, just because it's not my most, my most effective movement. I want to make sure that I'm not hurting myself, but again, I got to push the envelope for now and then, something different. It's always nice to mix it up. After this, we moved to your more traditional leg exercises. We did some quad extensions. For this one, I'm actually going to focus on not extending completely, not locking out the kneecap, just because I don't want to add all that extra stress to the joint, and I do want to maintain tension on the muscle, so it's constantly working throughout the set. So when you're getting to the top, making sure you get a nice good squeeze, and then control the weight on the way down. That doesn't mean that every set has to be a 3 to 5 second negative, but you want to have control, because the time and retention component is really important in developing the musculature and really breaking down the tissue so that you can build bigger, stronger legs. We actually supersetted this movement with a hamstring curl, and what I've done here is one of my favorite supersets, especially on a day where you don't have access to a bunch of different machines and maybe the gym's kind of crowded. It's a single leg standing hamstring curl, and so what I'll do is I'll press my quads against the seat, and then as I push my hips forward, driving the weight up with my heel in the overall curl position. This is a great way to isolate individual hamstrings, especially if you have, like myself, imbalances with strength. My right leg is not as strong as my left leg, and so I enjoy doing something like this because it gets me a chance to isolate each leg to really work on bringing them both up together. I also, as you can see here, like to actually place my hand on the muscle just to get that muscle-mind connection going so that I can really feel the contraction. As I stressed before, this particular leg is not as strong as my left leg, so it's important that I'm getting as many good reps in for the entire set. Otherwise, I find that if I'm just going through the motions, that maybe I'm just swinging the weight up, my lower back goes into play and all that, and then it ends up not being a very efficient exercise. Also, I know it's a little awkward because there's a completely open hamstring curl machine in the back left corner, so that is kind of odd. But I enjoy this movement, as I stressed before, because it does isolate individual legs. This particular stance in this position takes all the stress off my lower back as well, so that I'm really just working on the hamstring. So give it a try, something different. Great for, like I said, a crowded gym, or if you're on a time crunch, you can't afford to be jumping back and forth and running all over the place, but you really do get the most bang for your buck. We finished things up for legs doing some weighted lunges. I chose to use a barbell instead of a dumbbell set for this time, mainly because I wanted to prevent my torso from leaning forward. I find that when I use heavy dumbbells, it forces me to get that forward lean and puts a little strain on my low back. So by putting the barbell over my shoulders, it allows me to maintain upright torso. Controlling the descent and really trying to avoid hitting my knee to the ground. A lot of people do lunges differently. This is the way that I found most effective for my own body, and it gives me the most pain-free workout overall. After this, we wrapped up with a set of biceps on the preacher curl. This particular machine is one of my favorites. It's a triple load, meaning it has 3 different leverage points. I only like to use the center because I like to maintain as much tension throughout the center of the movement as possible. You'll notice in this exercise, I don't wrap my thumbs around the bar. I find that when you do this, it takes the stress off of your forearms and really allows you to get a good squeeze on the bicep. I'm also focusing on driving my elbows into the pad so that I'm not utilizing my shoulders, and controlling the squeeze on the way up as well as the descent on the way down. So this is all that I got in terms of the clips for today. This is actually going to wrap up the commentary portion of this particular video. So thanks again for watching, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the clips to follow. Ooh, I am sweaty. Just wrapped up the session with some cardio on the Stairmaster, and I always like sweat buckets, just buckets. It's insane. So now let's kind of get home and get some food. So since there's more traffic on the street than I normally get on the way home, we'll just take a second to kind of talk about mindset. So this was the first week of adjusting my diet and carb cycling, which the first time, the first go around was completely new and a very mysterious experience in the sense that I didn't know what to expect, didn't know how I was going to respond physically, emotionally, and all that. So I do feel better going into it this time because I know how I'm gonna feel. I know that I'm never not hungry throughout the day, which it's gonna suck either way, but at least I can embrace it now, and I know how to kind of work around that. Today, same thing, keeping the carbs very, very minimal. The biggest thing with that is just kind of
an overall sluggish feeling, which it's funny when you listen to videos or you listen to commentaries about people who are dieting, people who have done shows before, you know, they mention, oh, I'm tired, I feel tired, and you never really get a chance to grasp what they're talking about. I mean, people know what it's like to feel tired. You know, you haven't gotten a lot of sleep or you've worked a long day. It's a very different feeling, and I know that now, having experienced it. It's just, you just feel slow. You just feel almost, I don't know, like sluggish is like almost the like perfect term to explain it. So that hasn't quite set in as aggressively, just because it is only the first week. It's only been about 3 days. So going into week 2 and hard into week 3, it's gonna set in pretty aggressively. Right now I'm weighing in at 193, between 193 and 191, just based on how much salt I've had and how much water I'm retaining. So the goal is to drop as much of that water as we can, because that's essentially what I held on to really late into last prep. And so if I can start cutting that out quicker now, it's gonna allow me to harden up and fill out a little better going into the end of the show, or the end of the prep rather, going into the show. Like, get the sentence out. I mean, that's just kind of the mentality right now. That's what I'm going into the weekend thinking about, and really just continuing to drive with it. You know, cardio twice a day, going in with a mindset and a focus for my sessions, lifting as heavy as I can, still maintaining volume, trying to go for a pump. Yeah, it's just, it's a different focus and different mindset when you go into the gym actually prepping for a show versus just going in to lift weights because you enjoy it. I still get the enjoyment out of it. I still love being in the gym, but now I get a chance to take that passion and that intrigue and actually apply it to, you know, a goal and a mindset. So that's one of the coolest things ever. So that's how I'm feeling. That's how I guess this first couple of days has gone. Thanks for listening to my my jammering.